Welcome to the office. Our food edition takes you from Chicago in America to Middelfart in Denmark, visiting the Whitsundays in Australia. But first, thousands of sailors gather on the Isle of Wight for the mythical Rolex Fastnet race. 336 yachts from 20 countries starts the race that runs from Cowes to Plymouth via the Fastnet Rock.
I think it's a challenge for a huge number of people. It's their Everest. It's their Everest of sailing, you know, to get to the Rock and back safely.
Some of the world's fastest and sophisticated yacht competing against family crewed boats.
And it looks like it could be a small boat race actually. And you know, the conditions just will suit smaller boats as the strong wind comes in.
Donna Bertarelli's Maxi Trimmer and Spindrift 2 is the largest boat in attendance. She is also to prove the fastest, taking the multi-hull line honours.
Very pleased, very happy to be here. And yes, and with a happy ending, which was not, you know, set from the start.
An impressive bunch of boats are competing for line honours awarded to the fastest monohull yachts. When Supermaxi Azimut Europat 2 made their way through the Solent, her little ship was never threatened.
It was a huge up and down race because we sailed all the 300 or a little bit more miles up to the Rock upwind, and then in very light wind, the downwind with a lot of jibes.
No double-handed crew had ever won the Rolex Fastnet race. However, the most remarkable story of the week belongs to a father and son. To their surprise, Night and Day arrives in Plymouth as the overall winner of the biggest offshore yacht race in the world.
I feel very happy to win this race with my son. It was great. It's very.
It was an especially good year for the French. 12 of the first 15 placed yacht, indeed the top 5, hailed from across the English Channel. Of the world's best teams competing the only US stop of the Al Paris World Match Racing Tour. A head-to-head combat, the Chicago Match Cup. Following a week-long qualifying rounds, the petite finale is an hors d'oeuvre to the main action. The Swedes, skipped by Bjorn Hansen, managed to come back from behind to beat the Brits for third.
I made a pretty poor start. We just worked so hard to come back in that race and getting closer and closer and just getting a bit of wind at the bottom rounding, and after that it was our race, so that feels fantastic. In the battle for the title, hometown favourite Taylor Canfield is up against Keith Swinton from Australia. Suffering from a 2-point deficit, the US skipper has no choice but to bounce back in the first to 3-point series. With smooth execution, Canfield leveled the score 2-all. The crowd of spectators goes silent with tension for the 5th and final match. Taylor takes the early lead and extends to secure a breathtaking victory.
We're ecstatic to win here in Chicago, and you know, it was always a dream of mine to win the Chicago Match Cup, and coming back from 2-0 was a big one for us, so it makes it that much better.
The US team rumbles towards the finish line ahead of a disappointed Keith Swinton.
I still think today we sailed really, really well. It's just, you know, 1 or 2 small mistakes, and that's what ended up costing us not getting the win.
The next stop of the World Match Racing Tour will be held in Hamilton, Bermuda. Exactly 110 boats hit the Whitsundays water in Australia during 6 days for the 24th Early Beach Race Week.
We came all the way from Newcastle. Sailing here in Pioneer Bay is fantastic.
For some, the overall results is very important, while for many others it is simply another stunning place to go yacht racing. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the start of racing is often held back due to the lack of breeze. Some of the sailors take the chance to cool off with a swim, whilst others come prepared with oversized water pistols. The final day of racing brings smiles to the face of the sailors as the breeze kicks in as forecasted. It is the Whitsundays sailing at its best with 10 to 15 knots southeast and a manageable swell.
Well, in Melbourne it's cold and it's wet and it's windy. Up here it's perfect.
The social program is also paramount with big parties held every night, and an interesting optimist contest raced on Tuesday, August 13. Brazil and Australia win the 7th edition of the Nations Cup held in Denmark. In the women's event, Denmark, skipped by the experienced Lotte Medgaard, starts the final with 2 clear wins. But Brazil's, led by Juliana Senft, has other ideas and leveled the score in winning the next 2. In the 5th and decisive match, both teams engage in an incredible laughing duel down the final leg. With Medgaard's forward crew unable to keep the Spinnaker from collapsing, Brazil closes the gap and passes them. With nerves fraying on the race to the line, it is Brazil who eventually comes through.
Done everything perfectly, all the maneuvers, everything that we needed to do, and especially on the last run, I think they've done an incredible job. Congratulations to them. I'm just a driver.
In the men's event, the 22-year-old skipper from Perth, David Gilmour, and his crew are unstoppable. Having dominated the first 2 races of the final, Gilmour takes an enormous lead in the 3rd race. Danes Nicolai's head shows great fight to close right up to within half a boat length for a nail-biting finish. But Australia just hold on.
Well, we are so relieved and happy right now. I mean, we didn't think that it would be done in 3. We thought we'd probably go to 5 races in this series with Nicolai, who was such a strong competitor, but I mean, my crew just really turned it on for that final series, and
it is the first time both Australia and Brazil have won the Nations Cup. See you from time to time in August, but back to normal on September 2, same time, same place. Until then, goodbye, fair sailing, and have a great holidays.